All right, we're back. So right in the middle of my going on, our whole internet Wi-Fi connection died at the house, so I apologize. So welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live. We're back for this segment, and I go ahead and deleted the other opening. So just going to get started over again here. So thanks everybody for hanging in there. If the connection goes out again, I don't know if they're doing construction or whatever, but it was just really odd. So Home Staging Talk Show Live is brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. And the goal is to have a conversation about the home staging industry, what's working, any challenges, to provide you guys topics of interest and importance to help you grow your businesses and to reach as many people as we can about home staging. So I quickly just wanted to recap the awards we have. Best of IAHSP Awards, that will recognize you in 3 different categories. And those submissions are due by the end of this month. So get those in. Then you'll get a nice logo or series of logos you can put on your websites and so forth to acknowledge that you are best in the home staging industry. And then, of course, our conference awards are coming up. So those nominations, you don't have to turn those in until end of August, beginning of September. So, all right. So everybody that's on right now, if you could go ahead and share this segment, that would be great. And hopefully we'll get back the people that were with us when the connection died. And so the person we have sharing today, I'm really excited. We have Scott Hansen. Scott is actually our business keynote speaker for our conference. And he is an expert in marketing and sales. He's a business coach. I'll let him explain his background to you all when he comes on live. So we will come on here, approve, and add. Get Scott on here. So everybody share, share, share. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Verena. Oops. All right, so Scott is trying to add you. What you may have to do is go out and come back in. This is sometimes what happens when Facebook crashes or something, gets glitchy. So Scott, exit out and then exit out of Facebook, then come back in and ask to join in. So that'd be great. So while he's doing that, we'll kind of just to talk about today's topic. So Scott pretty much has the floor as far as what he's going to share. And but we're going to talk a lot about sales and marketing and business strategies and where we need to be putting our time and effort for building business. And it's super important that we don't just stay busy in our businesses. So those of you that have been through our courses know that we get rid of that word, because busy is like a gerbil on a gerbil wheel. We want to be productive. And so as a business coach, I'm sure Scott shares with us his clients all the time. It's not about sucking up time doing stuff. It's what did you do that was productive in your business that helped you get to a client to get some results. All right, so I'm adding you in, Scott, right now. Come on, Facebook. Okay, so we tested this morning and it worked great. And then this is what can happen. Still not adding you. So let me see if I can, let's see, approve, add, and it should connect. So try that again, Scott. Go back out and come back in if you can. That'd be great. Let's see here. Invite friends. So let's see if I can do it this way, Scott. So I'm typing his name. Scott Hansen. Here you are. Invite. Okay, so I've also invited you to come in, but you may have to either accept the invitation or go back out and try to come back in. He is requesting to be added, Laura. Lori, it shows up on my little thing that he's requesting, but Facebook is not connecting him. So what I probably have to do is this. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to preface this by saying if my Wi-Fi goes out again, I'll do my best to come back on. I just got a notice that the Wi-Fi was glitchy again, so I'm not sure what's happening with good old Comcast. All right, here's Scott. Okay. Scott asked to be approved again. Your little face is showing up here, but it's not adding you. So really excited to hear what he has to share, and you guys will be too. I'll just read some of his background while we're getting him on here. So I pulled up his information online. It's very impressive. So Scott Hansen, he's out of Chicago. So he has a successful podcast called Success Hackers. We're going to talk to him about that. He's interviewed some amazing people. If you go to his website, which is Scott Hansen, HANSEN consulting.com, you'll see all of these different accolades and awards and pictures with different industry icons. Like he's pictured, let's see, one of the best-selling authors in here. So he has Success Hackers. It hit number 1 on Amazon.com bestsellers list February 2016. It was conversations with elite business owners, performers who have cracked the entrepreneurial code. So that's a success hacker who's cracked the entrepreneurial code. Okay, let's see. Hopefully this will work. Okay, it's promising. Connecting.
Hey! Wow.
You gotta love Facebook Live, right?
What an amazing buildup. Oh my God, now I better perform.
Exactly. Well, hey everybody, this is Scott Hansen, and so really, really happy to have you on the broadcast. Thank you for agreeing to be part of it, and can't wait to meet you actually in person in Charlotte.
Yeah, I can't. I'm fired up. I mean, sorry for the technical glitches. I was seeing the broadcast, but I just couldn't get on. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. So tell everybody who you are.
Yeah. My name is Scott Hansen, and I'm a best-selling author. I'm a business strategist. So really what I do on a daily basis is work with small business owners and entrepreneurs, helping them get to the next level of success in their overall business through sales and marketing strategies, along with productivity strategies. So that's kind of the bread and butter of the business. And then I have a pretty successful podcast called Success Hackers that where we've interviewed, I think now 132 people in the last 3.5 years. We reached, I think, 18 countries and 500,000 downloads. And then I speak. So I speak around the country, and super fired up to be coming to your awesome event in October to be sharing some of the strategies we're going to be talking about here today. So.
Yeah, and so he'll be on Saturday's session. So he's our business keynote speaker, everybody. So he'll be there Saturday. I'm really excited to have him share. So we kind of, I sent you a few questions, but you do business coaching. So a business coach, kind of share about what are the top challenges that you hear from your clients as far as what they're experiencing trying to grow their businesses.
Yeah, and can you hear me okay? Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think first and foremost, the number one thing that the business owners that I work with, they have struggles with is how do I work more on the business versus in the business? And how do I set the business up for success? So I think a lot of times business owners, they'll get into business because either their father gave them the business or they said, you know what, I don't like the corporate world, so I'll jump into and start owning my own business. And so they're a great chiropractor, they're a great baker, they're a great marketer, and they do this stuff in their business really well. But then they haven't really had a chance to take a look at what's working, what's not, and how do we project into the future what success even looks like. And I think the number one reason that people make this mistake is, well, in order to have more success, I have to work harder. And the reality of it is that's not necessarily the case. It's the old saying is work smarter, but what does smarter mean? What does it mean? So one of the first things we look at is, number one, how can we double your revenue? If we can double your revenue, that means profits go up. And when profits go up, that means you can invest more in the business. You can invest in your staff. You can take this thing called a vacation. You can spend more money on a nicer car, home, whatever you want to do. And it gets the business owner more excited about where they're going, because a lot of times, I think I heard you say, you're kind of like this hamster on a wheel. The days, the months, the years go by, and before you know it, you pick your head up, it's 3 years, and you're kind of where you were 3 years ago, just with a lot more gray hair. So we get there and start going, man, how do we get some fun back in the business so that we can also start making more money in the business?
Well, and that's so important. So if you guys didn't write that down, I wrote down on versus in. Yeah. And I've heard that before, but you don't really kind of clue in. So the way you just explained it is so key, we work in our businesses, we're hustling, we're doing things, and it's like I just actually was just thinking this morning, like, my gosh, here it is Wednesday, another week is going by, and it just seems like time goes like this. And sometimes you have that feeling like I'm just existing, handling things day to day in a lot of the business versus thinking, projecting out, like, where are we going with the goals? So we kind of put our head down, we just sort of, muddle through with the business instead of thinking, what are the goals for a year from now or 5 years from now? And I love, who wouldn't want to double their income?
Yeah, and I
right?
think your point is this. There's a difference between big goals and hit lists. The
Right.
things you scratch off the list, that's stuff that you kind of churn and burn in your business like you're talking about. The way to get really excited about your business is to either 3 times or 5 times your goal. So for example, if you want to hit $500,000 in revenue, why not go for 2.5 million? Now, that right there, that's a massive shift in your thinking. So if you're close to 500 grand in your business, let's say you're doing 3 or 350 or 400, that doesn't really excite you to make an extra 100 grand in your business. To make 5 times more in your business, then you start thinking bigger. And when you start thinking bigger, believe it or not, you start focusing on the things that actually move the needle. And I'll share with the audience here something really important that I share with my one-on-one clients, which is this. Write this down. It's called the 10, 100, 1,000 principle. And what that means is simply, as a business owner, you're either doing $10 an hour jobs, $100 an hour jobs, or $1,000 an hour jobs. Now, your business could mean add a 0 to that or add 2 zeros to that. But the point is, most business owners are spending their time doing the $10 an hour jobs versus focusing on the bigger picture things like closing more business, getting more opportunities, touching your existing clients more and asking them for more orders, asking for referrals, things that keep the pipeline filled, right? If you can keep the pipeline filled, I think one of the bigger mistakes people make is they have one prospect. And they're so geared to get that one prospect to close business that they'll do whatever, including dropping price, which is the worst thing you can do, to get that client because they only have one iron in the fire. Well, it's kind of like dating, right? If you have 10 opportunities, you're not so worried about the one person that says no to you, in a bar when you ask them out. You have 9 or 10 other opportunities. It's the same thing in business. When you have 9 or 10 or 12 prospects in the hopper, even if 1 or 2 says no, or the only way I'm going to work with you is drop your price, you're not going to feel desperate to say, okay, yeah, hurry, let me get your business, because you have 9 or 10 other opportunities.
Which is really true. So, and we touched on this last week, just really briefly, talking about closing the sale and where the focus needs to be on the productive side, bringing the revenue in. So as a business owner, most home stagers start off, we work with clients, it's just us. So we'll do consultations, we'll meet with clients, and the business starts to grow. And then usually at some point, depending on how somebody markets and develops their business, it gets to the point where you can't handle it all yourself. So then you think, I need to add people. So when you expand your team, who are you adding? So like, I'll use myself as an example. I have delegated out the creative setups, the actual physical staging part. I have team members that do the setup. Do I still enjoy doing that? Yeah, I love, making a house look nice, but my time is most valuable getting the sales, getting with the clients, getting the business. And that's what I like to do. And then other things I don't like to do, like the bookkeeping, the paperwork, we talked about last week, you could hire people to help you with that, or maybe you have someone that comes in, hour a week and helps you organize. But there's ways to figure out what you want your role to be. So how does a business owner, because there's stagers out there that they don't want to do the business side. So being able to find somebody that they can partner with, and then they want to do the creative, but no one's ever going to grow their business unless they're able to diversify and delegate.
Yeah, the lifeblood of any business, right? Business growth, not just existing, like you mentioned earlier, is new clients. So the reality of it is as a business owner, you can say, well, I'm introverted, I'm extroverted, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at pressuring people, I'm not good at closing. I hate to say this, but the reality of it is as a business owner, you have to get good at the things that drive revenue.
Right.
So you mentioned an example of as a stager, or as a chiropractor, as a physical therapist, as someone that owns their own business, as a dentist. those people they have to get good at, whether it's automated, whether it's over the phone, whether it's in person, they have to get good at bringing in new opportunities. Now, the nice thing about the internet is you can have a lot of these opportunities automated. You can pay for services that have leads come at you, but at the end of the day, you still have to provide so much value. You have to know how to close business. And I know a lot of times that's kind of like, oh my God, I don't like to close business. You have to that's a mindset thing.
It is.
By the way, people think closed business, they think of the guy in the polyester suit, in the 1970s that forces you into a sale. And the reality of it is, here's something that I think everybody that's watching this right now can take away and have a lot of value from, which is this. First, you have to ask yourself one major question. Do you believe whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is you're providing, whatever service or product you're providing, do you think it's world class? Do you think it's world class? Do you think what you're providing to your clients can change their life or their business? You have to get sold yourself first, right? There's an acronym called IAHSM. I am sold myself. IAHSM. You have to be sold yourself on whatever it is you're doing. If you're not, then do something different. At the end of the day, though, you have to be sold yourself. So think about it like this way. It's a different way to frame closing, right? So let's say, for example, you and I are talking and you're interested in the possibility of coaching. And I know that my stuff is world class. I know that in order to get you from where you're at to really where you want to be, you need some help. Now, I call it our little self and our big self. We have two different selves that live inside of us. The little self is the self that says, I don't want to take a lot of risks. I'm not good at sales. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at promoting. I just like to do my little thing. Well, that little self won't allow you to grow. And if you want to stretch, get beyond your comfort zone, the little self tries to drag you back down, right? Tries to drag you back down. But here's the reality. If your stuff is world class and you think that your products and services can either help people save money, help people make money, or just great at what you do, isn't it your obligation, isn't it your duty to close people into your services because you know the stuff is world class? It's kind of like the old saying is if you and I had a cure, right, for diabetes, we would be screaming it to the tops of the mountaintops, getting people because we know it's going to help save lives.
Right.
You have to look at your business like the same thing. If you don't think that your stuff is world class, you have to get sold yourself first. If you're never going to be able to project confidence and the way to actually, have them buy your products and services unless you get really sold. We can go on and on about how to get sold, but that's the key factor is, do I think my stuff is world class? And if so, then why aren't you bringing more clients into the business? Because if you don't, you're not helping them, and that tells me you're also being selfish.
Right, and I think the little self, I think, is based in fear.
Yeah.
And holding back, and so being able to get rid of the little self and focusing on, which is really true, because when we talk about staging, we're not inventing a cure for cancer or whatever, but I do feel like we are providing a huge value to the homeowner for them to be able to get the most out of the sale of their house, so it translates into money in their pocket. Overall, the real estate that is staged looks better, so it reflects better on the entire industry. The listing agent makes them look good because the house is not a mess. It presents well. Ultimately, they'll make more commission when the house sells at a better price. So it's a service that definitely has a huge impact in the industry. And so what he's saying is really true. We have to believe that what we have is so necessary for that client that we're willing to have that conversation and not come across as pushy or like the used car salesman type technique, but that you have something that can help them. And sometimes I get frustrated sometimes because I know that's the case. And when somebody comes back and says, "Oh, well, we don't want to spend the money," I say, "Well, you're not spending the money. You're investing it. You're investing it up front to maximize the rate of return on the sale of your house." And the truth is, they don't save the money they don't want to spend. What happens is they lose it with price reductions, staying too long on the market and becoming a stale property. And when they reduce that price, it's usually 10 to 20 times what the staging investment would have been. So they're not keeping that money. They're losing it or they don't list their house at a strongest price because it doesn't show well. So being able to come from that mindset, we don't want you to spend the money either. We want you to invest it to help you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and here's the reality of it is this, right? That's why I believe that asking the right questions, not just, but here's the key, not just surface level questions. So I have a general contractor client, and one of the things, he gets a lot of leads, which is half the problem, right? Which a lot of people would love. He gets a lot of leads. One of the things I'm helping him with is conversion rate. How do we increase the conversion rate from lead to client? So one of the things that we always talk about is ask the homeowner when he's doing a walkthrough of a rehab, ask the homeowner, why are they doing this? Not just what kind of marble do you want or what kind of kitchen counters, but get deeper into the questions. Like find out why am I even here? Why are we doing a walkthrough? What are you looking to hope from this? Are you looking to entertain? Are you looking to sell? What's the deeper level sort of questions? And I'm telling you, by asking the deeper level questions, number one is you separate yourself from everybody else that does what you do, because they just ask the surface level questions, say, okay, great, I got information, I'll go put together a proposal. No, really find out what moves the needle, why they're doing what they're doing, what are they looking to gain. Your example is perfect. So you just shared an amazing statistic that if it's staged, your home will sell it at the top end of what the list is, obviously. Well, okay, so most people would stop there. Okay, so I know that statistically. But if you ask the homeowner or whoever your end client is, what would you do if we're going to sell it at the top level? Let's say you're selling a home for 500 grand, and if you don't stage it, it might sell for 4.25. That extra $75,000, if you are talking to the actual homeowner, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, out of curiosity, if you do get that extra $75,000, what are you going to do with it? Well, actually, we're looking to take that 500 grand and roll it into our next property. We're looking to take that and take a big slice of that for our kids' college fund. You now know by asking those extra one or two questions what really moves them, because at the end of the day, I always say this to all the people that I talk to, 99% of the time, it's not a price issue. It's not. If they're in your wheelhouse, at the end of the day, if you lose the deal, it really wasn't necessarily based on price. It's based on value. And if you can talk to the prospects, the mindset that they go through based on the value. I mean, think about it. How is it that some people buy $80,000 or $85,000 cars and some people can only afford $15,000 cars? There's a market for both. You have to decide, are you in the Toyota Corolla business? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with Corolla business. It's more of a lower dollar, more volume. Or are you in the Mercedes AMG business? And there is no, but you have to first decide, which business do I want to represent? How am I going to be perceived? And then from there, you know, we can go on and on about this. You never want to ever want to drop your price. Ever. It's the worst thing you can do. Because when you drop your price as a business owner, you automatically water down your value and your brand. And secondly, here's the reality. Those people will still, the ones that you think will buy your products or services because you drop their prices, they'll still have a reason why they're not going to buy it. So it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I love that, the value versus the pricing. So I mean, the wheels were kind of turning when you were talking, but even some of the wording in a proposal that goes out, you always say like the investment staging is always less than a price reduction, and that's a saying that Barb Schwartz coined. It's a great saying, but being able to actually reflect the value, not just like what are you going to get, what's the goal, translating into the value to them in a proposal or even a conversation. I think a lot of when you go to close the sale, so we'll send off proposals to clients, and I always follow up. Pick up the phone. I follow. Did you receive it? Do you have any questions? So it's the opportunity for me to connect with them. But I think a lot of people in my industry, they send stuff off, and they're like, they sit back. You know, I'll wait for them to. I'm going to wait for them to call me. You know, they're going to call me, right? And then TikTok time goes by, so you have to let people know you're interested in the business. I think sometimes people are afraid to hear no. I actually shouted at students in class, like, what's the worst that's going to happen when you pick up the phone and say, do you want to go forward with the staging? No! I mean, that's the worst. No! And they're not even going to do that. They're not going to yell into the phone, right? And so we have to be okay with hearing no. And as you said, making sure that you have enough opportunities that one client does not become so important. Gosh, if I don't get this client, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills or do these things. It's like you need to have more opportunities.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that, what's so important about the no that you just talked about, here's another piece of information that I teach my paid clients. And this is something I think everybody watching can take value from, which is this. So when you deal with the end user as a potential client, right? The mistake that everybody makes is what you just said. Okay, great. So you do the walkthrough, you have the conversation, you get excited, and then all of a sudden they say, okay, great. Based on what you shared, send me a proposal. Here's the problem, right? Right away, here's one trick for you, which is before you send the proposal, when you're done meeting with them the first time or having a first conversation, and they say send the proposal, here's a little trick, which is, hey, Mr. Prospect or Mrs. Prospect, that's no problem. I'll put together the proposal. But sometimes people have some questions in the proposal. So what I would want to do is, what works on your calendar? So I'll send you the proposal next Tuesday around 9 in the morning. Can we speak around 10 or 11? Sure, that's no problem. So what did you just do? You locked in a second meeting, which is over the phone on a proposal. So now you're walking them through the proposal while they're looking at it. Or maybe you give an hour ahead of time, right? But that's the key. So now you have to get good at, when you're walking them through the proposal, you want to re-reference the conversation they had with you last week about why they're looking to have a stager, in your case, come and do this stuff. Now you're talking them through it. Your goal right there on the spot is to close them on the spot. Because here's the thing. Now, the other key takeaway for this is, make sure that when you had this conversation with her the first time and you said, I'm going to send it to you next Tuesday, I would say, if it was me talking to you, I'd say, Jenny, I'm going to send this to you next Tuesday. How does 9 or 10 o'clock work? You say, oh, that's perfect. Here's a key component. I would then have to say, is there anybody else that also makes decisions need to be on this call? Oh, yeah, well, my husband needs to be on the call. Okay, I want to make sure, because again, it can get a little complex. I want to make sure both of you are available. When are the both of you available? Oh, you know what? My husband's not available at 9 o'clock next Tuesday. How about 6 p.m.? Oh, that's perfect. So what did you just do? You know that when you send a proposal, and even if you walk through it really well, she has to then say, this looks great. I got to go talk to my husband, John. Guess what happens? She takes the information you just shared. All John gets home from work. All he sees is blah, 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 price.
Right.
And then it's like, you know what? That's way too much. It's this. All the conversations you had with the woman in this case goes out the window, because she's trying to relay what you shared. The emotions were there. Everything was great. And then all John sees is a proposal and you saying, want, it's X dollars. And then you lost the deal, and all he's looking for at this moment is the cheapest situation. This is why you got to make sure both parties, or whoever needs to be involved, are involved.
Well, yeah, and that's super important. So again, those of you guys watching, and I know people are coming on and off, make sure you share this segment, because the information is so important. Getting to the decision maker is really important. We have a lot of our clients, the realtors will take information on behalf of the client. And so I'm usually, well, who's the decision maker? You know, we can be on the call with them. Let's get them on the phone. So, because I'm best equipped to share my services and the value versus someone else who doesn't know all the ins and out of what I do. They don't know how the pricing was arrived at. They don't know the different terms and so forth. So really the goal is for us to be able to get to the client. But I love that, being able to get to the decision maker and setting the appointment. So it's not just, because otherwise you're chasing people. They can hide behind the phone. Yeah. Right? If you don't have a set appointment.
Yeah, and the other thing, frankly, is based on this is, a lot of people have this, how do I get in front of more people? Right? So how do I call it get attention. How do I knock on more doors? How do I blow out to get more business? With the advent of this thing called Facebook Live, with YouTube videos, with all the social media, with speaking, there's so many opportunities. Remember I talked earlier about this playing small, the little version of yourself. The little version of yourself says, well, I'm waiting on referrals. That's not enough. You're going to die on the vine in the next 2 years if you're only waiting on referrals. And I'm not saying referrals aren't important. Referrals are very important. How do you dominate your space? So do what other people are doing and then times 10. So for example, maybe it's you're putting up one of these videos every Monday talking about your industry, not selling, just getting information out. So maybe you do that. Maybe you're creating a YouTube video. Maybe you're going on Twitter. Now again, you can say, oh my God, I don't know how to do any of those things. Just pick one or two avenues and dominate. There's one or two and that's it. So for example, if you like to speak, I know Jenny likes to speak and get in front of people. That's the key. You want to get in front of more people. So how do what it's called, get attention, right? How do I get attention? And that's the key. If you can't get attention, I can't do business with you because I don't know you. Right. So how do I get more attention in order to grow my brand? And that's why you started the conversation off with some of the things that I've been able to do. I remember when I first got started, someone said, Scott, how are you going to separate yourself from every other coach that does what you do? And I said, well, you know what? I think I'm pretty good at what I do. They said, that's not good enough. I said, oh, okay. So I took that to heart. So what did I do? I created a podcast. I wrote a best-selling book. I write for Entrepreneur Magazine. I did all these things so that when someone reads off my bio or someone goes on my website, they're like, oh, he's not just saying that he's pretty good at what he does. Other entities are validating that. So there's so many things out there that you can do as a business owner right now than what you're just currently doing. You just have to think a little bit strategically to say, how can I 5 or 10x what I'm doing in order to get more notice around my business, around my brand? And that's going to be important.
Right. So the social media aspect is huge in our industry, the real estate industry in general. I've seen a huge shift in how realtors are gathering business. A lot of them are engaging with some of these lead generation sites that validate leads and so forth, and then feed them to the agents. And of course, it all costs money. Then
right.
Online presence, being able to do things like Facebook Live broadcast or like podcasts, things like that. But you have to reinvent yourself because the technology changes and the target client we're going after. Somebody was sharing in social media. Do you know Carrie Jo Little? She's in Chicago. So she's with the Women's Council of Realtors. She's big with NAR, and she'll be at the conference. You guys can meet. But she has a site called Smart Girl Media. So she does a lot with social media and speaks all about that. But it was interesting because she said Facebook, even though there's young people on Facebook, it serves this particular demographic.
Right.
So like 40s, 50s age group. And so the younger people are more on Instagram or, Snapchat and these different platforms. And so it's also being strategic about what client do I want to gain? How do I reach that person? So going to that platform specifically to reach them.
Yeah. And a lot of people watching are saying, oh my God, I don't know how to do any of that. It seems overwhelming. Like I said earlier, pick one or two. Pick one or two, and here's the word, be consistent. So if you're going to do Facebook Live, do it once. If you're going to do it every Monday at 10 in the morning or whatever time you do. Be consistent and say to yourself, I'm going to do this for 12 months. I'm not going to skip 3 months. I'm going to do it for 12 months. Maybe that's LinkedIn. Maybe that's Facebook. Maybe that's Instagram. Whatever that is, do that and then go on to your business. The other thing that I'll share with you is very simple. Find out who your strategic partners are. Now, everybody knows that I should do, JV partners or strategic alliance partners. But what they don't do is they don't stay in contact with them, right? So if you and I are strategic partners, but we only talk once every quarter, that's not enough, right? We want to, how can I add value to you? So when you're out networking and you think of someone's business and growth, you think of me. When I'm out networking and I hear real estate or I hear people looking to sell and I think of you right away for a home stager, how do you stay in the mind of your alliance partners and vice versa? Maybe that means you're masterminding or just getting together once a month. Hey, we're getting together for an hour and we're just going to talk about how your business is. Because repetition is the mother of skill.
Right.
If you're on top of people's minds all the time, they're going to feed you business, right? So, and I think you said something really important earlier, fear. People have fear around doing something outside of their comfort zone, right? They'll try for a little bit, but then they'll give up. I just, interestingly enough, I just did a cleanse, kind of a detox cleanse, and I've never done one in my life. And, I'm 45 years old and I wanted to kind of reset my body, and my wife and I agreed to do a cleanse. She did a 3-week cleanse. I only did a 7-day cleanse, but let me tell you, the first days I wanted to give up. because there's no caffeine, there's no sugar, there's no bread, there's nothing. You're like, oh my God, and I need my coffee. There's no drinking a glass of wine to unwind, none of that. But what happened was, after the third day, here's what was weird for me, and I'm still on it, I actually continued it, but here's what's weird. Once I got past those first couple hard days, I didn't really crave caffeine anymore. I didn't crave the sugar. I was looking at food and diet a little bit differently than I've ever looked at in my whole life. And it's weird because then I started to realize, when I look back on this cleansing opportunity, what I'm realizing in the business context is this. Our first little bit that we try something, it's hard. But staying with it over a period of time, that's when the magic takes place. That's when you start to shift your mindset about what's possible. That's when you start to hang out with other people that are playing at a bigger level. You start to reopen yourself up to new possibilities. If you stay in the little box of saying, I got all the answers, I know everything, like, I have all, then that's not what, you can't grow that way, right? So, so again, my suggestion based on my cleanse is, do something, crazy in your business. Give yourself 1 month. Hey, this month I'm going to do this, and I'm going to stay committed. I think a lot of people have this. They get out of the gates really quickly, but they can't follow through, and that's where all the real growth takes place.
Which is, it's funny that you mentioned the cleanse, because I think my husband and we started one. I don't know, it was like a pure liquid with the juice and stuff, and I don't think I even made it 3 days, just because I don't like drinking my food. I have to do something. I like the idea of eliminating toxins and being healthy, and I don't have to have coffee and so forth. But just when somebody tells me I can't have something, all of a sudden you would think, oh, that's the one thing I have to have, right? And then the headaches. But I know if we had just probably stayed committed a few more days, we would have made it past that hump. So the pain point, whether it's working out, people that go to the gym, you do the workout, you're like all fired up. So I remember I had a personal trainer. This was a couple of years ago. I'm like, I'm going to get in shape. But that guy, first of all, I'm a 50-year-old woman, so I'm like, he should not have had me doing some of this stuff. I was doing like the ropes and the medicine ball. And I was like, I couldn't even walk down the stairs. So I'm like trying to stage. I can't hardly move. I'm like, this is not good. It's, you want to kind of ease into it a little bit. But there's always that pain point that, you want to get past it, and then it gets easier.
Well, you know what? It's kind of like, it's like anything in life. Anybody that's watching, I would suggest, there's a lot of people that chase the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
They chase the new thing.
Dude.
But the ones that you read about, you hear about, see on Facebook Lives, the ones that are interviewed, the ones that make all the money and have the lifestyle, those are the ones that paid the price. So don't fool yourself. If you're going to start a cleanse, do a diet, start cold calling more, start getting out there, start doing speaking. I remember as an example of speaking. So now I get the opportunity, to speak like I am in October, at your event in Charlotte. I just got asked to speak at a Chicago Cranes magazine business event. And a lot of things have started to come to fruition around speaking. But here's the key. I begged someone in my local chamber to be on the speaking docket for free, and he said, I'm sorry, we're already filled up. I met someone who knew someone who then got me into the same opportunity. Again, this is in like a small hotel with 7 people, and I finally got that opportunity. From that opportunity, one woman was in the audience. She said, you know what? I have a women's group, and I would love to have you speak in the women's group. I didn't even ask any questions. I'm like, absolutely, I'll be there. I didn't realize it was a 90-minute drive. And it's in the back of an Italian restaurant. Pots and pans are clanging. No one can really hear me. There was no money, zero for free. But one thing led to another. Now, I could have given up and said, oh my God, this sucks. This is terrible. I want to get paid a bunch of money. It's like anything, business, the cleanse, the diet, whatever it is that you're trying to do. The winners are the ones that stay in it long enough to create all the success. So if you're going through your stuff, right now, just realize this is just the test. And the test is, how bad do you want it? That's how I look at it. So when I fail, when I lose a client, when I don't get a speaking opportunity, when I think I'm going to sign it, I just look at it and say, well, why did this have to happen? And then I lean on one thing, and that one thing is This was just a test from God to say, all right, how bad do you really want to get to the next level? This was just a roadblock. Can you get past the roadblock or not?
Right. Or you can let it, you're going to give up and turn around and go back, put your toys in the sand and go back home type of thing. So,
Right.
which is true. You have to, it goes to your motivating factor. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Right.
And so when I'm talking to, some new home stagers or they're thinking of getting in the industry, it's like, well, why do you want to do this? And some people think, well, I hear this a lot. Well, it looks so fun. What you do so fun. It's creative. They think we, karate chop a pillow. We go buy all this accessories and we get to make houses look pretty. But the real work is behind that to get the opportunities. And what is the motivating factor? Because if the motivating factor is just you want to play with accessories, you're not going to last in this business at all. You have to, my motivating factor when I really get to the core is I like helping people. Whether if I wasn't doing staging, I would be doing something where I was helping people with whatever their goals are. And I like that I can fit my creativity around a business, but I like helping people. The money is a big motivator. We have a family of 4 kids, and my husband and I are both self-employed, so that's a big motivating factor. Hey, Kathy. And so I look at it like burn the bridge. I know some people like, don't give yourself a safety net. Burn the bridge. When you make a commitment to your business, if you have an exit plan, like, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go back to doing what I was doing before. Well, I burned the bridge. I'm like, I'm not going back. And I didn't, piss everybody off, but I was like, I made a commitment to myself. I'm not going back to that industry. This is it. Yeah. So I have to make it work.
Yeah. And that analogy, burn the boats, right? Mm-hmm. Burn the boats of, the old saying is we can't go back. We can't retreat if we don't have any boats to go back. So we're going to conquer. Right. And that's the whole analogy. And it's the same thing. Why would I have a plan B? Because all it does is distract me from plan A. And right. It's interesting because if you do have a plan B, if you have one, I remember years and years ago, I was in a network marketing business, multi-level marketing business. And I hustled. I cranked. But I always knew in the back of my mind, I can always escape and go back to the sales job that I had, for example. Guess what happened? I don't know how it works, but the universe gave me some success, but not the success I wanted, because looking back on it, I knew that I wasn't truly, even though I said I was burning the boats, I really didn't. It wasn't like do or die no matter what. It was, I'm going to do it until. And sure enough, I worked it hard for 3 years, but I did it until the success wasn't there. And I think that's the big mindset shift in business, right? When we coach our clients, it's a lot of tactics, a lot of strategies around marketing and sales, et cetera. But the reality of it is that, we also teach the mindset, because if you can't have the right mindset, right, you're never, I don't care, I can give you the best script on the planet, but you'll never get to where we want to get to. So,
Yeah, and so his topic at the conference, it's a long one. I had pulled it up on my computer. Talk a little bit about some of your success hackers, a couple of the people you've interviewed. We'll go past 10:30 because we had the technical glitches. But I'm interested in just maybe a couple of people you interviewed. Who are some of the more memorable ones?
Yeah, you know what? And of course, because let me plug this phone in. I'm actually running out of power. Hold that thought.
I'm going to pull up his talk. His talk at the conference is on mindset strategies to maximize business. So it'll be sales and marketing related. And I'm just pulling up my computer went out. So let's see here. I'll go to our conference site here. Actually, where did I put it? Yeah, so really excited to hear what he has to share about that, because the mindset is so important. If you don't believe in yourself that you can be successful and you're giving yourselves an out, it could be just like a little teeny thought in your back of your head, which that whole if word, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go back to what I was doing before. And it's not that we shouldn't keep, some of our skills and so forth up to date. It's not going anywhere, right? I mean, houses are going to continue to be bought and sold. They're going to continue to need to be staged. There will always be a need for us in this industry. So having that mindset that you're in this is what you want to be doing. And I know there's been people, in the future, that's a whole nother conversation about, at the point where you do decide, hey, I would like to retire, sell my business, transition out of the industry. That's all going to come to all of us because, time marches on, right? And the business is not ageist, so you can be doing it into, till we're, there's people that are in their 70s that are still staging, and maybe even older than that. So as long as we have our ability to frame something in our minds and a vision and communicate, we can still have a business. But the mindset is super, super important. And I was trying to pull up your topic because it's a long one. So I'm just pulling it up here. His little promo. Speaker promo. Okay. But you're talking about, so I was talking about your topic at the conference will be the mindset strategies to maximize income. And it's
Yeah.
outsell, sorry, do you have it handy?
Out market and out dominate your competition. Yeah.
Yeah, outthink, outmarket, outsell your competition, a 5-part profit formula for getting new clients and doubling your revenue. So that's his topic at our conference. So he's also the creator. What is the ultimate success system? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So literally it comes down to, based on the topic I'm going to be sharing, it comes down to I call it a methodology. A methodology around number one is how do you get more attention in your business? How do people know who you are? The second thing is, okay, now that you get attention, how do you close more business? What are you saying? Like there's this whole formula that I have when we work with our clients that gets them from what we talked about earlier about working on the business more. Start thinking strategically about, okay, how do I get more attention? Now that I got attention, how do I close more business? And now how do I look at my business so that it becomes more fun and more profitable? So again, how can we help you sell the business? Can we take your concept, maybe turn it into a franchise? Can we take your concept in your business and maybe give it to your son or daughter? If you don't have processes and systems in place for that, and you're the best quarterback, running back, receiver, punter, coach, general manager on the team, the problem with that is, God forbid something happens to you.
Right.
Your business falls apart.
Right.
So how do we start thinking differently about what does the end goal look like? I would imagine a lot of people that are business owners watching right now, if I were to say to you, what is the end goal? Most of them would kind of shrug their shoulders and say, I don't really know. I just want to make more money. But, our brains are like heat-seeking missiles. If we give it a target to hit, we get more excited. And everybody that's watching right now I would challenge you to say, what is your goal? It's May of 2018. What is your goal by December of 2018? Do you want to hire more people? Do you want to create a program? Do you want to, do you want to grow your revenues by a certain number, not just grow revenues? You want to grow your clients by what number? So if I were to ask you, if I were to start coaching you and you say, I want to grow more revenue, what does that mean? And not only what does it mean, what will you do with the extra 200, 300, 500,000, $1 million, $2 million if you hit that number? Okay, great. You made an extra $1 million in your business. Now, what does that look like? Let's start thinking 30,000 foot level. What do you want to do with that extra 500 grand? Well, that'll allow me to, I've been wanting to put a kid through a specific college. And the only way we do that is by making an extra 500 grand in revenue. That gets them more excited about going to work every day, because otherwise it's just a hamster on the wheel. So that's really the ultimate success system, is we put them through these steps with me kind of holding their hand the whole way so that they can start becoming more successful. When you start, and that's the other thing about investing. I was just reading something today before we got on here about Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett, arguably one of the greatest investors of all time, one of the richest men on the planet, has said one of the top things that has helped him in his business is when he invested in himself. Going to seminars, paying for coaching, paying for trainers, doing those types of things, because the nice thing about seminars or the nice thing about coaching or trainers or whatever is they can see your blind spots. Right now, if you knew how to go from A to B, you would already be there. And that's what most people don't realize. They don't want to invest. They say, I don't want to invest the money because I will invest in coaching or training or seminars or whatever when I make X dollars. And here's the thing, folks. It's just the opposite. If you knew how to get there already, you would already have the results. So why not pay? And I'm not, whether it's me or someone else or Jenny or anybody else, at the end of the day, pay for help, because it'll expedite and speed up your growth process and success process so much faster than you can do by yourself.
It's like the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
So people have that mindset like, oh, I'll reward myself when I achieve this. They don't realize when you do it first, you're going to get to the goal faster. So
Yeah.
it is the chicken and the egg. And I also think a lot of people are maybe afraid, but going back to that fear word of having somebody analyze their business from the outside, because they're going to point out all the things that are wrong. And it's like, well, if you're making errors in your business, and let's face it, any business owner, we all make mistakes. So being
Right.
able to have an outside person who's not emotionally tied to the process of business, being able to analyze it from the outside is super helpful to have that process. And then one of the best things about having a coach like you would be the accountability factor.
Right.
And we touched on that last week a little bit, but the accountability to have somebody who's going to challenge you and say, did you accomplish your goals? And if somebody says, oh, no, I didn't do that, well, you're going to not let them go, oh, okay, well, just try to do it for this week. You're going to say, well, what got in the way? Why didn't you achieve your goal? And what, because you didn't do that, how has that impacted your business now? And holding them accountable. And some people don't like to be in the hot seat, but if we don't make ourselves, if we stay in the comfort zone, which he's been talking about, that little circle with your little self, you stay in that comfort zone, you're never going to stretch and grow. And I mean, there's people that they're totally fine with that. They're happy with their process and so forth. But there's lots of people that their goal is to expand and grow and have, be able to bring more revenue in. So you have to get out of your comfort zone.
Well, I'll tell you, to your point, you just hit the nail on the head. One of the main reasons, or a big reason why people like to work with me, is the accountability. But here's what's more important than just the accountability. So there are things that happen in your life and your business and your diet and your relationships. There's common things that happen throughout a daily basis about you. So for example, if you and I are working together and you don't do your homework, or you do it kind of half-ass, and then you show up to the coaching session like that, and then you end up to the next coaching session like that, I would pause and I'd say, Jenny, I noticed that now the last 2 sessions, you've made some excuse around justified why the homework didn't get done. I would then take it one step further and I said, is there other areas in your life when you say you're going to do something, but then you don't follow through? And what that does is it starts to create this thought process of, you know what? Wow, this is an underlying theme in my relationships. It's an underlying thing in my business. It's an underlying thing when I go to work out and I say I'm going to lose weight this year and I'm going to buy all the right clothes, but I never take action. So there's this underlying thing that that transforms into business and relationships and everything else. When we can uproot that weed, I call it, that then shines a mirror and says, it's not just happening in your business. It's happening in your love life. It's happening in your relationship. It's happening in your whatever it is you're doing. And people just love that because it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that I was doing that. So working with someone like myself, it's like, my God, I can't believe that he's shining a spotlight on me, and it permeates into other areas of my life, not just my business. So that's why I said earlier, I can give you the best script on the planet to call up, prospects or existing clients or whatever to get more business. But if your thought process is, I feel like a loser telemarketer on the phone, doesn't matter what the script says, you're not going to want to pick up the phone and call. If you think picking up the phone means I get a chance to serve people and help people with my amazing services, what do you think is going to permeate over the phone? Energy, excitement, enthusiasm. That's what I want to be part of. But if you think, oh my God, I got to pick up the damn phone and call people, it sucks, I'm a loser telemarketer, that's what permeates and comes across. So when I work with people, it's the marketing and the sales and the profitability and productivity and all those other things. But the other side of it is how do you feel about that? What's actually stopping you? And let's understand more of that.
Right, and being able to say, with your message, I want to help you, the sincerity comes across. And I heard years ago, people can, you've ever heard this thing, people can hear if you're smiling.
Yeah.
So if you're on the phone and you're smiling, that actually can kind of come through versus if you're just, intent or like you're saying in a bad place, mentally feeling like, oh, I feel like a telemarketer, that whole attitude comes across, even though they may not even be able to see you. So, All right, really, really quickly, tell me what was one of your most memorable podcast success hacker people interviews?
Well, that's a good question. Now, 132 later, I've had the opportunity to have Shark Tank winners. I've had the opportunity to have a lady that won the equivalent of Shark Tank in Canada. I think it's called the Dragon Den. So I've had a lot of really top people, and I've had sort of the smaller business owner as well. And one guy really, there's a lot of them that stood out. One underlying theme for everybody, I think this is going to help everybody that's watching this. The underlying theme is something I knew about it, but the more I listened to it, the more of a spotlight I put on it, which is personal development. Everybody that I've interviewed, I ask a question on the show called the fail forward stage. And that basically is, okay, tell me one time that you failed, and then we're able to overcome that. And every single one of them say the same thing. Well, which time do you want?
Right.
Like multiple failures. And that, like, after a while, I'm like, oh my God. So that just tells me they're just resilient. They fail and they get up, they fall down, they get up, etc. Right? But they all say, without personal development, without masterminding, coaching, listening to YouTube videos, listening to stuff like this, without constantly feeding my mind with the right stuff, I wouldn't be talking to you, Scott, here today. Number one. Number two, a guy stands out. His name is John Runlin. Good guy. You know, you talk about, like, you can just tell he's always smiling. Good guy overall. One of the things that he talked about was how do you actually get inside of a prospect? What kind of cold calling do you do? And I asked him that. He goes, I do something very interesting. I said, what is that? He goes, I send them a gift as a prospect. I said, really? Well, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, you know, as an example, he said, there was one company that we wanted to get inside of, and it was this marine type of a company, boats and RVs and stuff like that. And he was waiting on the proposal to get back, and finally he's like, you know what, I'm just going to go outside the box and I'm going to do something. He sends them a paddle, like a canoe paddle, just to the prospect. And he said, I know that you're going to be, without our services, you're going to be up Schitt's Creek.
That's great.
But here's a paddle in case you need it. LOL, really looking forward to doing business with you. Within 3 days, he gets a call from the CEO and says, that's the most creative thing I've ever seen in my life. We were actually toggling back and forth between you and your competitor. Congratulations, you won the business. So what I took from that is everybody that's watching right now is to say, well, I can't pressure someone. I don't want to ruffle their feathers. What if? Here's the reality, right? The reality of it is you need to touch your prospect 6 to 10 times. Really get this, 6 to 10 times before they even realize you're on planet Earth. So those of you that are knocking on the door once or twice and then leaving and saying they don't want me, they don't like me, oh my God, 6 times minimum. How are you actually getting it? How are you being creative? What are you doing? Are you doing things like we're doing right here? Are you actually writing a book so you can hand them a book? Are you actually getting creative around because again, it comes back to one thing. Are you sold yourself about your products and services? And if so, then you're going to do whatever it takes to get, and I'll wrap up with this for my business. I know that what we do is emotional. I know that I help people emotionally, financially, with their business, with taxes, everything we talked about. I have had people that I wanted to work with. I've had people say, basically, let me think about it. And I will keep them on the phone. And it's not a hard sales approach at all. I have so much passion for what I do because I know I can help someone's life, including obviously their business. I will continue to ask them, well, why do you have to think about it? What are you looking for? And then there's been probably 3 different times when I kept asking and they say, okay, you know what, you're right. Let's just move forward. I've had the same 3 people 3 months later. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a pressure, and not that I pressure them into the sale, but they're finally like, okay, you're absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's move forward with coaching. I've had the same 3 people 3 months later say, Scott, I am so glad that we actually did this. And I said, the reason why I did this is because I wanted to take a stand for you and your business and your life. And I wasn't letting your small self get in the way of doing something extraordinary. That's why I knew that 90 days, 120 days later, 6 months, a year later, we would be having this conversation, you saying, Scott, that was the greatest thing I've ever done. And I know that. So again, back to what I said before, you have to get sold yourself, and you have to take a stand. It doesn't matter what you sell. If you take a stand for someone's life and business, and it comes from your heart, you're going to win over so many friends and fans and people that like you and love your work, that you won't have to go out knocking on doors in a couple of years, because you'll have so much business coming in.
I just got goosebumps when you said that, because a lot of what we do, I mean, I like to think that it does come from the heart. You know, we care about our clients, and in any industry, really, you come from that point of wanting to serve someone else and help them. That is really at the core. I think of what, I mean, it's great that the business provides us an opportunity to make good money and so forth. But at the core, I like to think the really successful people, it's about the heart and your intention and helping other people. So that is so great. And tell us your website so people can go check it out.
Yeah, my website is scotthansenconsulting.com. Scott Hansen Consulting. If you're a business owner right now and you have a pretty successful business and you're watching this and you're like, you know what, I really liked what he said. You can get in touch with me. I have this website. It's called 60 Minute Breakthrough. 60 like spelled out 60minutebreakthrough.com. You can get on my calendar. We can talk a little bit more about your business. I normally charge for this, but because Jenny is so amazing and the information we're sharing today, I'll completely waive the fee. I just want to, again, I want to serve. I want to help. I want to find out what's making you tick. So go to 60minutebreakthrough.com if you want to have a phone call with me, and it's just me walking through your business and finding out more about you. So,
well, I just took in so much. I was taking notes. That's why when I was looking away, I wasn't ignoring. I was taking notes on my paper. So I appreciate you sharing. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I know. I'm fired up. And also, by the way, if you or you're the people watching and listening right now want to check out the podcast, it's the back here, successhackers.net. Would love to have you subscribe to it and check out all the information. I actually just talked to someone the other day, and out of nowhere, they said, I've been listening. I never met them. And they pulled me aside and said, I really love your podcast.
That's
and I
great.
said, thank you so much. That's so cool. And I said, what do you like about it? And his exact answer was, number one, it's short. It's not an hour and a half long. It's short. And you get to the meat of what makes people tick in order to have these massive, successful businesses. So I thought that was cool. So if you like podcasts, you want to check out mine, Success Hackers is the name of the podcast. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. So everybody get to meet Scott in person in Charlotte, October 19th. No, the 20th. Sorry, the 20th, which is Saturday. He'll be our business keynote speaker. And this was just a nugget of what he's going to be sharing there. He'll really hone it in on outsmart, outsell, outmarket your competition, and the success strategies. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny. It's a pleasure. I loved it. You're really good at what you do, and I want to give it back to you for providing so much value to the people that are watching your shows. And constantly, I see a lot of people commenting and liking and hearting and all left swipe, right swipe, whatever it is. And I want to give it back to you because you don't have to do this, but I know you do it because you love what you do and you love serving and helping. And so I want to commend you for what you're doing on this planet as well. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So we'll be able to meet Scott in person in October. Thank you so much for being on. I'm going to go ahead and punch that little thing there. All right. Thanks everybody for being on. Please remember to share this with people that are in your sphere. That was an awesome session. So I'm so glad we had Scott on, and sorry for the technical glitches earlier. Next week, we are going to be talking about home improvement focus. And right now I have Sheila Dragon. She'll be one of our guests. If you do home improvement recommendations or have that as part of your staging business where you're recommending flooring fixtures, paint contractors, and so forth, and you have that as a service aspect that you offer consistently, we'd love to have you on as well, because we're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about how that developed as part of a business strategy for staging, because that doesn't have to just be for houses that are for sale, right? It could be helping people who are remodeling that are living in their houses. Of course, being able to work with investors, that's a huge market segment that service can be aligned with. So join us next week, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Wi-Fi working hopefully, and we'll have another great session. So thanks everybody for being on. Have a great week, and remember what Scott said at the end, it's all about the heart and serving people. So have that attitude, change your thinking, and don't let your little self hold you back. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week.